Hey everybody, I just want to take a few minutes and go over this short paper assignment this week on the hiring process. I just want to make sure that you don't forget to include certain key things associated with this assignment. All right. So in this assignment, you're going to talk about the hiring process that takes place for either a police department employee, such as a police officer, Department of Corrections, a correctional officer, or a probation officer. And you also need to indicate the purpose for each step. All right, so a good place to start is in our textbook on page 108. It outlines a pretty good chronological sequence as to the hiring process for, it says police hiring process, but it's going to be very similar to both corrections and for probation. They may differ in a little bit, and that's what's going to make your assignment unique in depending on the type of profession you select. So take a look at that chart because it's going to be very useful because you're going to be evaluated on a couple of things. We'll take a look at the grading rubric here in just a minute. But first, I just want to make sure you understand the directions. So you're going to describe the hiring process for the police department, Department of Corrections, or probation officer and the purpose of each step. So you need to understand the sequence of events, the chronological steps are going to take place for your particular practitioner, and the purpose of each step. So, for example, if you're going to research the hiring of a police officer in City X, and they require a written examination early on as part of the hiring process, then you need to explain what is the purpose of the written exam. And so understanding the purpose will validate why they have that particular step in their hiring process. Feel free as you complete this assignment to contact, let's say you're interested in working for City X, feel free to contact them. Talk to somebody that does the hiring for them and find out the reasonings behind certain steps if you're not familiar with why you think that step has a purpose, okay? Then the hiring process may differ depending on where you are located. So different states might have different requirements. Cities are going to have different requirements. Some cities might require a polygraph examination, for example. Some counties and state might not. It's going to depend on the agency. So there's going to be some differences in each of your papers. Then you have to provide an overview of your select profession by briefly discussing the requirements, training required, work environment, and responsibilities for the profession, whether it's a police officer, correctional officer, probation officer you choose for this assignment, and for the state in which you are located. So each state has their own set of guidelines in terms of what might be considered minimum job requirements for specific public safety jobs. So for example, most states have some type of police officer standards and training at the state level, and basically this office, which usually is at the state level, is what outlines the minimum job requirements, the minimum training requirements to be a police officer within that particular state. And oftentimes what you'll see is cities and counties may require more from prospective employees than maybe what the minimum job requirements are at the state level. So for example, let's say the state says that in order to be a police officer in the state of California, you have to have either a high school diploma or a GED, which is what you take in lieu of a high school diploma. But some cities in California require a bachelor's degree. That's a minimum job requirement. Just to walk in the door and submit your application requires a bachelor's degree. Some don't. Some may require a certain number of college units. So there's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy between what the state has for minimum job requirements for a particular profession, and then maybe what specific agencies within that same state require. Okay, they can have more requirements; they just can't have less if your state is designed and set up that way. Some departments, for example, require a degree, and some a high school diploma. Some hire at age 18, some at 21. Some departments require the recruits to take a lie detector test before being hired. Some academies are overnight academies, while others are daily academies. The time spent at the different academies may vary. So in other words, the number of hours required for training. Again, that's generally going to be dictated at the state. They'll have a minimum number of job a minimum number of hours of training for, let's say, a police officer. So let's say the state says they have a minimum number of 800 hours of training at a police academy. And maybe the particular jurisdiction, if they're large enough, has their own academy, and they want their officers to have additional training in certain areas that are unique to the city or unique to that area. So they may require the officers to have 900 hours. So the states are generally going to set up a minimum number of hours, but local police academies or correctional academies or training for probation officers can require more, and oftentimes that's going to depend on the particular agency. Discuss the time spent at the different academies. Okay, that's going to vary again. We just got done talking about that. It is these differences in the hiring process that will make your paper unique. Okay. Now it says here for additional details, please refer to the Module 3 short paper guidelines and the rubric assignment. So let me go to that real quick so you have some ideas to what we're referring to. Before I do that, let me just scroll up here real quick. These reading and resources are just a guide for you, so you can take a look at that and see what job potentials there are, and generally speaking, what some of the requirements might be. But you're going to have to do some independent research on your own. Again, these are just a guide. Okay, it's a resource, so you can take a look at that. There might be sections of that where you want to cite in your paper. That again is going to be up to you. So let's take a look at the grading assignment and rubric real quick, because I think that's going to be important. Let me find it here. Here it is, short paper, Module 3. Okay, so here's what you have to do. You have to describe the hiring process for a police department, Department of Correction, probation officer, and the purpose of each step in the hiring process. You're then to provide an overview of your selected profession by briefly discussing the requirements, training, required work environment, and responsibilities for the profession. So work environment is where do you work. So if you're interested in the correctional field, obviously your work environment is going to be within inside of an institution. Police officer, your work environment is going to be outside, typically out in the field. Probation officer may be a combination of both, all right? So you need to understand what's going to be required of you. So you're going to describe the hiring process, the purpose of each step, and overview of your select profession by briefly discussing the requirements, etc. All right, so take a look at that. Again, some departments require a degree, some a high school diploma, some hire at age 18, some at 21. These are going to be part of the minimum job requirements, even to walk in the front door. So what are those in the particular agency or practitioner that you're reviewing? We talked about the academies already. The time spent, again, is going to be different. Okay, so here's the grading rubric for the hiring process. So, for example, here it explains the chronology and steps of the hiring process for the police department, Department of Corrections, or probation. So again, the key word is chronology. They should be in, they should be in a logical order. Okay, the steps, there's a reason for the steps, and so understanding the sequence is going to help you if you ever decide that you want to get into that particular job profession. So pay attention to that. Chronologically, you need to provide the steps in the hiring process, okay? And then you need to offer the purpose of each step in the hiring process. So you can say step one is a written examination. The written examination occurs because, and then offer an explanation. Okay, so the chronology of the hiring process, and then a purpose is going to accompany that. Police department overview. Okay, this should actually not necessarily be a police department overview, but your criminal justice practitioner profession overview. So whether you're looking at a police officer or Department of Corrections or probation, okay, this is important here that you address that. So submission provides an overview of the police department by describing the size and type of department. So if you're looking at a police department, what's the size of the department? When they talk about type of department, are we talking about local police, county sheriff, highway patrol, etc., right? If you're talking about corrections, are we talking about a sheriff custody position at the local level? Or are we talking about a state custody position? Or are we talking about a federal custody position? So again, describing the size and type of the department. So some departments may only have 10 police officers, some may have 5,000. Some correctional facilities at the state level may only have 800, some may have, 6,000. So this will give me an idea as to the scope of the agency that you're interested in working for. And then, of course, articulation and response, how well did you write it, okay? So again, please make sure you go through and understand each of the steps required here for the rubric, all right? So submission, chronological steps of the hiring process for your profession that you select, police, probation, or Department of Corrections. And then the purpose. Then you need to describe the agency for me. So the best thing here to do is select an agency that you think you might want to work for. If you're not sure if you want to be in the criminal justice profession, then think about if I were in the criminal justice profession, which of these three would I want to work for, and then take it from there. And sometimes it's best to select somebody local if that's an area that you're interested in. A lot of people end up working for a local police department, local sheriff's department, local county jail, local correctional facility, local probation department, things like that. So provide me with some of that background information. And then make sure you write a really good short paper, okay? So I hope that helps. If not, you guys know how to reach me. But again, take a few minutes, take a look at the paper guidelines and the rubric as you complete this assignment. If you follow this, you will no doubt get 100% score on this. This is an exciting assignment, I think, because it's going to start allowing you to explore a potential profession and what the requirements of that profession are going to be, especially in the particular area where you live, if that's where you want to work. All right? Have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.